Evening, everybody. Good, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Supervisor Bredefield,
Here.
Supervisor Chavez,
Here.
Supervisor Maxig,
Here.
Supervisor Pacheco,
Here.
Chairman Mendez.
I appear to be here.
All present, thank you.
Okay. Welcome to the January 28th meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We will begin with the invocation and flag salute. The invocation will be led by my district. After the invocation, remain standing for the flag salute. Mark Grice. Mark currently serves as Executive Pastor and Men's Ministry Director at the Worship Center Church in Fowler, California. Mark was born and raised in Fresno, California, where he currently resides with his wife of 28 years, Lisa. Together they have 2 sons. Mark serves in various ministries over the past 31 years, including the Juvenile Justice Center and state prisons. He enjoys traveling and spending quality time with his family and friends.
Let me say good morning to our board chairman and to the rest of our supervisors. And can we take this moment just to, before we pray, just to give thanks to the Lord? And that, with that being said, would you bow your heads? Let's pray. Heavenly Father, before we ask for anything, we want to thank you. Thank you for your mercy, Father. Thank you for your loving kindness and the grace that you've shown this county and our leaders. Lord, we bless you and ask this, that you would give grace to each of our supervisors that lead this region, that you would give them wisdom to shepherd your people according to your heart. Thank you for their work. Thank you for their service. But we also ask this, not only would you bless their public life, you would also bless their private lives, meet every need, and we thank you for it. In Jesus' name, amen. Can we begin the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Okay, agendas are at the back of the table for anyone wanting to follow along.
Item number 1, approve agenda.
Any comments from the board? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried.
We now move to item number 2, approve consent agenda item numbers 24 through 59.
Okay, these matters are routine in nature and usually approved by a single vote. Are there any board members that would like to pull any items?
Yes.
Yeah,
You want me-
yes.
Yes, I would like to pull item 26, 34, 42, 46, 51, 52, and 54 for discussion.
And Madam Clerk, if you can read those back, I just want to make sure we got the right ones, because I have 2 I need to pull, 2 abstain.
54, 52, 51, 46, 42, 34, 26.
Yes.
Any of
you.
those, the ones you needed?
Yeah, 52 I was going to pull just to abstain, but 48 I need to have pulled to abstain as well. And again, because of the Levine Act, I need to recuse myself on both of those items, 48 and 52.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pull items 38, 46, and 58.
What's the other one? The first one?
38, 46, and 58.
And the other one was already pulled.
Yes.
Was it?
So we have a total of 26, 34, 38, 42, 46, 51, 52, 54, 58. And we have Supervisor Maxig recusing himself from items 48 and 52 due to the Levine Act.
Okay, we'll do them after 5 then.
Will do.
or start in on them. Okay, is there anyone in the public that wants to pull an item?
Yes.
Hearing none, I'll go
Chairman.
back to the board for,
Sorry, Chairman, just a suggestion. Perhaps you might want to hear it after 6, which is the ceremonial item.
oh,
for-
okay, yes, I was thinking that was the
Yeah.
first. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah,
We do them after 6.
so I bring it back to the board for a motion on the
Move for
balance.
approval on the remainder.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, just procedurally, item 13 for appointments, that will be discussed separately later. Is that
Yeah, we
correct?
do it
Yes.
separately, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor, so by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. We'll go back to item,
Number 3, under Board of Supervisors, presentation of retirement plaque to Julie Apperson, Department of Behavioral Health, 23 years of service.
okay, will Susan Holt or her designee step forward?
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board, supervisors. I'm really pleased to be here this morning to honor Julie Apperson. She's a colleague who has great respect among her peers. She is the embodiment of the spirit of recovery, a champion for recovery in Fresno County, and our apologies that her deputy director and most recent division manager couldn't be here to speak on her behalf. They're both in Sacramento representing me at a state conference. But her longtime division manager, Stacy Van Bruggen O'Rourke, would like to say a few words about Julie and her contributions to our department.
Thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be here today to celebrate the career of Julie Apperson. She began with the county November 11th, 2002. Just shy of her 24th anniversary, she retired as the clinical supervisor for the Pathways program for the Department of Behavioral Health. The Pathways program is a co-occurring disorders program that treats individuals with substance use issues as well as complex mental health issues. This is a difficult population. They often come with multiple needs in multiple life domains. Substance abuse treatment is difficult. Successes are often hard-won after years of small or tiny successes. Substance abuse treatment requires patience, faith, hope, and the unwavering commitment to the fact that recovery is possible. People can and do recover. One must be open, free of judgment, ready to assist, and quickly respond when people are ready to seek help. I served with Julie as her division manager for most of those years. I've been impressed with her resiliency, commitment, and passion. So excited for you.
I'm nervous.
And she has been an example for all of those that she has treated and grown into better practitioners. In closing, I want to share the words of her current division manager, Natalie Armitstead, who couldn't be here today. Natalie says, I had the opportunity to work alongside Julie as a clinical supervisor and as her division manager. We shared a building together and worked side by side during the pandemic. I'm going to add that that program never closed during the pandemic, and it was often Julie alone, sitting in a folding chair with a clipboard, doing intakes for anybody who was ready to receive care, or being available for anyone who just needed to talk. Natalie continues that her thoughtfulness, she brought every day to her staff, her colleagues, and especially persons served. She worked with her team to provide safe and welcoming environment and a judgment-free atmosphere that promoted a space for growth and recovery. She inspired her team to be creative in their group sessions and individual one-on-one sessions with the people they serve. She created a newsletter and outreach to keep people apprised of the work of her program. Julie is greatly missed, and we thank her for all she has done for the SUD community, substance abuse community, and the Department of Behavioral Health. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything if you don't want to, if you're nervous, but
Oh, I do. I just have so much gratitude, and I truly
Yeah.
mean that. And I really do from my heart. I am so thankful for having been able to be here and with the department and with the county. I started back as a volunteer in the late 90s with the public health department, and I started my employment with county employment with the health department, and have moved on and continued believing in that work of recovery from mental health and from substance use disorders, and have loved working with people that are so like-minded and really believe in that work of recovery and giving back to people. That is so important. And I've watched so many of the people that we've served really grow, and some came back and are working for the county today. And I love that. I love to see that, and people heal their lives. Gosh, I am so grateful for that, and thank you all. And thank you, Susan and Stacy and other leaders in our department for allowing us to continue to grow and provide treatment however we could. And as Stacy mentioned, during the pandemic, we were right there. We didn't even know the people that were there in front of our building. We were out there on Cedar next to the old emergency room, and they were in crisis and needed people. And whoever was there, we were there for them, regardless. We would spend whatever time, and we kept supplies of water and snacks, healthy and not so healthy, snacks on hand, and just to really connect with people and help get people into services that they were looking for, or just to even listen. And gosh, what a blessing and what a privilege, a true privilege to have been able to do this. And I'm so grateful. And for this recognition, I really wanted to do this in person, really for my family who's here today, and just to see, there are people out here that really matter. And we have so many people. I see people even walking here today. It was so wonderful. I mean, people I recognized, didn't acknowledge, but recognized. And it's like in my heart, I'm thinking, awesome. They are somewhere in their journey of recovery. So, but thank you so much for this privilege and the work that we get to do for those that we serve. Thank you.
is there any comment from the board? Is there any public comment? Jill, you want to step forward, and if you have any family members, bring them up here
I do.
for a picture?
I even brought most of my grandkids.
Okay.
Thank you.
We now move to item number 4 under Board of Supervisors, presentation retirement plaque to Jamie Rolando Laredo, Sheriff Department, 24 years of service.
Okay, Sheriff.
Good morning, Sheriff John Zanoni here. I have retired Deputy Jaime Laredo here, and I want to talk a little bit about his career. and just someone who was an outstanding sheriff's office employee. In fact, if you were to ask me, I wish I had a whole bunch more people just like him, because, you know, his work ethic and his dedication to this job was always unwavering. And he's someone we never had any issues with. He came to work, he took care of his business, he did his job, and that's something that as a department head and as boards of supervisor and people in our county and community should be thankful for, because just an outstanding example of what it is to be a deputy sheriff. Jaime began his career with the sheriff's office in 2000. He was a court deputy. He served there for about 4 years, and then he went out and he transferred to the patrol bureau. He was on patrol for a couple years, and I think he got bored. He needed a bigger challenge, so he became a detective in our homicide unit, which you know is one of the most challenging units in the department because of the nature of the crimes that they investigate. He worked there for several years, and then he returned to patrol. He worked the night shift for over 16 years. He primarily worked in the Sanger, Reedley, and Orange Cove areas, which is where he grew up. He served as a field training officer for several years, and he was also a valued member of our crisis negotiations team, which helps us resolve domestic violence, suicidal incidents, and barricaded and armed subjects. His most cherished memories are the relationships he built with his supervisors, his coworkers, and the public. And as far as his supervisors, many of us have supervised him. That's why you see so many of us here today. He attributes his success to their support, which gave him the confidence to handle difficult calls. Among his fondest experiences was the 2 summers he spent working the Huntington Lake contract, where he enjoyed the peaceful scenery, remote locations, and I'm sure a little bit of fishing. Jaime's married to his wife, Lupe, for 28 years. They have 3 children: Eric, who is a Fresno police officer; Audrey, an aspiring forensic services technician; and Kevin, a high school sophomore. Jaime prioritized his family throughout his career. He primarily worked the graveyard shift so he could attend their school activities and events. In retirement, Jaime looks forward to traveling with Lupe, spending time with loved ones, and tackling long overdue home projects. He is honored to have worked alongside some of the finest people in law enforcement, and he remains grateful to his meaningful career. Ladies and gentlemen, Jaime Laredo.
Thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate it. Board members, Chairman, thank you for the honor of the presentation. I want to thank all my coworkers and supervisors for being here, and my family as well. It has been a great honor for me to is something I deeply cared about is my job. Over the years, I made some great friends, and that's the hardest part about leaving and retiring, is the people that you're going to miss, people you're not going to get to see every day. But it has been a truly honor to serve the people of Fresno County. I did everything possible I could to make my supervisors proud of me, to make my family proud, to make the people that hired me, not make any regrets. But again, working with the Sheriff's Office has been the biggest honor in my life, and I appreciate everything and all the training and all the support that I got from everyone in the department. Again, thank you for the honor. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. So, thank you very much.
Yeah. Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Mr. Laredo, Jaime, you want to come up here? You got any of your family members here with you? Have them come up too. Hey, how are you?
You're in the middle. You're the VIP.
We now move to item number 5 under Supervisor Maxick, proclaim January 2025 as National Human Trafficking Prevention Month in Fresno County.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Supervisor Magzick.
Human trafficking affects not only this county, but the 3,069 counties that are within the entire United States. And actually, it's a problem globally that isn't talked about enough. And we have representatives here from Fresno EOC, and I believe also Breaking the Chain. So if I could have those representatives come forward, talk a little bit about the significance of us recognizing this, and then we will approve this resolution.
Good morning. We recognize January as National Human Trafficking Prevention Month. The Office of Trafficking in Persons identified a core theme for this year. That core theme is connecting the dots, strengthening communities, and preventing trafficking. Human trafficking has federally been identified for nearly 25 years, and agencies like ours and the partners behind me have been in this movement for almost 16 years. I think that even though we have identified and served thousands of survivors, we've only begun to scratch the surface on the impact that trafficking makes in our community. This theme this year is so important because we are asking our communities for help. Human trafficking is preventable if we can address from individual, relational, community, and societal levels. Preventing trafficking can look like providing healthy conversations about safety and boundaries to our children. It can look like providing across safe and affordable housing, access to transportation, employment, food, and other basic needs. Trafficking occurs when a trafficker sees a vulnerability and finds a way to exploit it. By addressing these vulnerabilities, we may be able to keep someone from needing agencies like ours. If you are interested in some tangible ways to disrupt trafficking in our community, I would just suggest if you are a business owner, you can post awareness signage designed by us so that maybe someone in need can see an opportunity for help. You can hire people with lived experience, receive education from those lived experience experts about how to equitably employ survivors. This way they never have to return to their exploiter. As an individual, as a business, or an organizational group, if you are interested in receiving further training and education and finding out how you fit into this work, you can contact Fresno EOC, Breaking the Chains, Central Valley Justice Coalition, and Central La Familia. We are grateful for your continued support in the anti-trafficking movement in our community. Thank you.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our partners, our community, and of course, our County Board of Supervisors for your support in recognizing this very important day. I've had the tremendous honor of being invited by the current administration. In the next few weeks, I'll be traveling down to DC to represent our county and talk to this administration about what is not only just happening here in the central San Joaquin Valley, but throughout the state of California in regards to human trafficking and homelessness. With that conversation being started, I want to also extend to the County Board of Supervisors all of our partner support in helping to educate how we can better inform on current policies and procedures that are happening within our county, within our government, and of course within the community of Fresno. I think it's important that the community understands that Fresno is not just an area that is exploited by traffickers, it is one of the primary areas here in the nation. California being one of the greatest hotspots, with the two largest hotspots being between Northern and Southern California, Fresno has a duty-fied responsibility to make sure that we are not only protecting our community, but we are enacting laws, policies, and holding hands with the people in this room to ensure that all of our children make it home safe tonight. Thank you, Supervisors, for your support.
Any comments from the board? Hearing none, is there any public comment? Take it back to the board.
I'll move for approval of this resolution.
I got a second. All in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. So you got their deal. Go ahead and come up and get your.
take, well, I was gonna take pictures of them shaking hands. Is that okay?
We now move to item number 6, under Human Resources, present certificates in recognition of the 2024 Fresno County cohort participants completing the designated number of credits to receive their executive credentials from the California State Association of Counties.
Okay, will Hollis McGill or her designee come up? We got our designee.
I seem to be a designee a lot of times.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board. It's my pleasure today to bring this item to you. Thank you, first of all, for your time before the meeting today to take some photos and spend a little time with these folks. I believe that one of the most important jobs that we hold as leaders is to raise up other leaders. And your investment in the CSAC Leadership Institute helps fulfill that role. So thank you for your continued support. We are now entering into year 4 of this program, where we will break the 100 mark of leaders that have gained this experience and this knowledge through this program through CSAC. So it's my pleasure today to introduce Paul Danchik, who is the COO of the California Counties Foundation. So Paul, I'll turn it to you.
Great. Thank you, Dave. Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, I want to thank you for your leadership and CAO Nerland for your vision in bringing the CSAC Institute to Fresno County. What we recognize today is a celebration of 27 graduates who have earned a credential. Earning a credential is no easy feat. It's a matter of 50 hours of instruction over a 10-month window, focusing on things like team engagement, self-awareness, self-care, and to continue the strategy that you have within Fresno County in building leaders. They join a network of over 1,500 graduates from across the state. When I'm talking about leaders, I'm talking about senior executives in county service. When we think about these types of programs, we know that they have both short-term and long-term impacts. The short-term impacts are measured at the end of each session when we ask the participants what their experience was like in that session and what they're taking back with them to apply. We also know that it works in long-term studies or through long-term studies with our alumni. What we continue to hear back is how important these programs are in strengthening local communities through a workforce that's not only motivated to do the job, but have the skill sets to be able to do it. When we get into this space, we also know that professional development works on a variety of levels, including to shape organizational culture, and we have seen that within Fresno County itself. We're excited that this is the 3rd cohort to be able to be recognized, and I'd like to call out their names to be honored them today. The graduates that earned a credential with the last session of last October include Debbie Aguila, Jill Barr, Rebecca Berg, Elisa Bostos, Aisha Carter, Marciela Chevalier, Josh Dean, Katie Elder, Andrew Golden, Erica Hartsfield, Nicholas Llanos, June Mayuda, Dave McCurry, Michaela Medonza, Fine Ni, Victoria Naheo, Stephanie Oakley, Aaron Smith, Americo Papaleo, Angelica Rivera, Maria Rodriguez Lopez, Tuni Sharif, Joy Thompson, Jenny Thompson, Tang Vang, and Elizabeth Vecchio. Please help me in recognizing them when you see them within the county. Thank you.
Any comment from the board? I'm just going to make one. I'm going to ask you a question. Now, the amount of people that we had participate, is that a common amount in an urban county, or is that a little bit more than usual?
It is. One county hosts a campus. They generally commit to 40 seats, and those seats are a combination of both coming from the county itself and then from neighboring counties as well. So having a graduating class of 27 is right in the mix, sir, of what we typically see within campuses. As we're designing programs, we want to make sure that the programs are small enough where folks are able to interact with each other, be able to form those bonds in addition to learning content. So we don't have classes over 100, for example. We generally keep them under 40. Well, between 30 and 50 is our target. So yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other comments from the board? Okay, thank you. Since this isn't a motion, no motion is required.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we will take up consent items that were pulled from
Yeah,
your
we'll start
supervisors.
with, you're
The
going to
first-
start with 26.
First item is item 26, pulled by Supervisor Bredefield, under Supervisor Magsick and Administrative Office, approve final adoption of Administrative Policy 48.1, naming rights for eligible county facilities.
Sure. If you want, I can start off since this is under my item. So probably 10 months ago, we had a discussion. The county's been involved with a number of different building projects, and there have been individuals who've come forward having some interest in potentially wanting to name rooms or buildings themselves. And so I know that this body had a public discussion, again, months ago about it, and there was direction given to staff to figure out how can we put together a policy so individuals who are interested in naming rooms or buildings, how we can make that happen. And I'll tell you, it was there was an exhaustive effort. It was a little bit cumbersome from my standpoint, because I guess how cities operate and counties operate are a little bit different. And county council came back with a policy which they believe is defensible, where we effectively would issue a competitive bid process. And out of that, individuals would have an opportunity to submit a bid to the county to name the building or a room. And then we would have an option as a board to either pick the highest bid contribution to us or reject all bids. And so they, county council's office has indicated that's the best course of action to move forward. The reason this is on consent is this is a second reading of this particular item, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And Sam, let me know if I missed anything.
Do you have any questions? You pulled it.
Yeah, and I pulled it just simply to say that I like the item very much. I appreciate the fact that you're doing this. I was involved in the stadium, Chachansey Park, years ago, many years ago, and the city got $1 million in naming rights. I know the city has tried to pursue convention facilities for naming rights, hasn't worked out, haven't gotten the right number, but I think this is an absolute right direction. Are there any facilities in particular at this juncture that are being looked at or marketed in particular, Nathan?
So nothing marketed per se, but I can tell you that we have two library projects, one in Buddy's district, one in my district, that are moving forward, where there have been individuals who've expressed interest in wanting to contribute to those projects and have a name associated with that contribution. But then also too, we've been setting money aside for years for for the ag commissioner. And members from the farming community have indicated that there is some interest there once that project moves forward, where individuals would like to make some contributions. So the board felt like the time was right to put something together. So as individuals wanted to make contributions, we actually could receive them.
Excellent. I'll leave it to you to make a motion. Excellent.
Is there any public comment on this? Go back to motion.
I'll move for approval of this item.
Second.
Okay, got a motion, a second. All in favor, so by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. We'll go to 34, the next one.
Yes, item 34, pulled by Supervisor Bredefield, under Behavioral Health, approve and authorize chairman to execute Third Amendment to Agreement Number 23-284 for mental health systems to increase housing support funds effective upon execution with no change to the term of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025.
Okay, you want to present it?
Okay.
Or do you have any questions?
I do have questions. I didn't know if you wanted to present.
Yeah, just go ahead and ask your
Yeah,
questions.
okay. My main question simply are the hourly rate that is being contracted. I was looking for it, having trouble finding it, but I saw there's a psychiatrist for $1,000 an
Yes.
hour. Huge hourly rates.
I'm happy to provide context. Susan Holt, your Behavioral Health Director and Public Guardian, good morning. So prior to July 1st of 2023, the Department of Behavioral Health and other county behavioral health agencies across the state were paid for Medi-Cal claimable services under a cost reimbursement model. This was a decades-old reimbursement model, and the rate, if you will, was established based on actual costs. And that's how we paid our contracted providers. We had a cost-based reimbursement contract for each provider, and then we would have specific salaries of employees, specific line items for food, mileage, et cetera. Beginning July 1st of 2023, all county behavioral health agencies for Medi-Cal services are compensated differently. It's a fee-for-service model. We then have negotiated contracts that have a fee-for-service reimbursement, but we no longer pay for other costs such as food, transportation, mileage. So for our comprehensive treatment programs, such as a full-service partnership, they are only able to pay for the totality of the services based on their reimbursable claims for direct services. So that's why the rate might appear high. It's not a salary paid to a physician. It's a rate that assumes the total cost of the program. Payment reform is a way station to capitation. So in the years ahead, county will have another major transition toward capitation, but under this structure, the behavioral health plan, which is the County Department of Behavioral Health, receives a rate, and then a subset of that rate we provide pursuant to contracts you approve to the contracted providers. So what you see in that rate is different than what a private practice psychiatrist would charge, for example. So this is to offset. There's no executive salaries in the contract, there's no supervisor salaries, there's no lease for a building, there's no fleet. So they earn the revenue for the services, and that has to pay for all expenses.
I hear you, but it's misleading because it says psychiatrist, contracted psychiatrist, provider rate per hour, $1,140 an hour. It says for a nurse practitioner, $567 an hour. LVN, $243. Psychologist, $458. I would have loved to have got $458 an hour.
Me too.
But that's what it says this is. Now, you're saying that it's all subsumed, it needs to be broken down so it reflects accurately what this is.
Supervisor, if I may.
Yes, please.
In the compensation section, it describes that the compensation is to the organization, not to the providers. So they, again, are not receiving any additional compensation for the other costs of delivering services as they would have in prior years. And they only receive any funding from the department for the specialty mental health services that are provided for validated claims. I will say also that even with that, the specialty mental health services for the acute population that we serve in the public system certainly has a higher level of acuity, greater comorbidities, complexity of polypharmacy, and so it is naturally a higher rate compared to mild and moderate and private sector work. But again, the rate is to the plan, which is higher actually than what you see in the contract, and then what we negotiate. This contract is a full-service partnership. It's our highest level of outpatient services outside of inpatient care, and so it is a higher rate than other lower levels of care in the department as well.
Isn't there some way to break this down more so it accurately reflects what's being paid for?
We certainly could provide additional language to clarify that No, I believe it may be in the contract language. Council can support me on that if necessary. But I believe that the contract clearly indicates that all of the other expectations of the program, such as data reporting requirements, there's no additional compensation for that, but they are mandated to perform those functions. But if there's additional language that the board would prefer us to consider, we'd be more than happy to entertain that.
Well, so you're saying a psychiatrist is listed here as making $1,140?
No, sir. The program that we're contracting with
But that's not what it says. It says provider rate per hour.
So let me say it a different way. We pay the organization, so the contractors listed here, for example, Mental Health Systems, we pay that company based on the services that their providers provided validated claims for. We then submit those claims for services to the state. So we pay the company based on the claims of their providers, and these rates pay for those services. And the totality of the supports necessary for that service to occur. If they have someone scheduling those appointments, driving someone to see the psychiatrist, those are not additional reimbursed expenses. And so the language in the compensation is clear that it's only paid claims that results in revenue, and that they have to manage their operational business and clinical practices in order to sustain the program model.
Okay. Well, I think you've answered it. I'm not comfortable with it, but I appreciate where you're coming from.
And Supervisor, if there's language that would provide more comfort, I'm more than happy to discuss that and
Sure.
Consider it. I will also reference, just as a matter of point, the contract amendments today are not to change the rates. These are board-approved rates. The amendments are to increase the non-specialty mental health claiming under the Mental Health Services Act because of increased housing costs. So just a point of clarification in case we weren't clear.
Thank
But I
you.
appreciate the question.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Just a couple quick comments on this. So again, this particular item is not going to impact net county cost.
Correct.
And also, really what we're talking about is $218,000, and this contract ends, I think, June 30th of '25. So it's a small amendment to tweak this contract before it expires, really in the next 5 or 6 months. Again, a lot of the rates and our structures, as we put these contracts out and award them, we attempt to use the competitive process as much as possible. And so we cast a net that goes far and wide. And the structure of how we reimburse has to follow state and federal protocols depending on what program that we're dealing with. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. And
Right, I
we
just
are
want-
currently in an active procurement for many of our specialty mental health contracts right now.
I just want to make sure that we as a county never operate outside of the bounds of that procurement process, because it's always important for us to be defensible. So because there are audits that take place with this stuff, so we need to make sure that we are in line with auditing standards.
Absolutely. We follow all of the county procurement policies. And in addition, the state and federal regulations are quite complex in the public system. And we ensure that all of our contractors are required to follow all of those federal and state statutes. Thank you.
And I can.
Any public comment on this? I'll bring it back to the board.
Yeah, I just want to say I concur with what you're saying. At the same time, I think things need to be clear for the public who are reviewing this. We may understand some of those issues, but when you're reading this, it clearly says what it says, and I understand it subsumes a lot of things. But that's my concern.
I appreciate the concern, and I'll work with my team to infuse some clarification in future agreements to specify the things that we described today.
Thank you very
Appreciate the
much.
feedback.
Thank you.
Okay, we got a motion from the board.
I'll move for approval on 34.
I got a second. All in favor is going to say an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm
Hearing none,
opposed.
the motion
I'm
carries.
opposed. No.
4-1, clerk?
Yes.
Okay.
4-1 with Supervisor Bredefield voting no. We now move to item number 38, which was pulled by Supervisor Chavez. Under Behavioral Health, approve and authorize chairman to execute an agreement with Kingsview for mental health patients' rights services effective upon execution through June 30th, 2030.
Yeah, thank you, Clerk, and thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions along those lines, and I think as we're here a little bit longer, you start to get more comfortable with the process and things of that sort. I just had some basic questions. I'm trying to kind of understand this, because my first question is this a state or federally required program? Which was it?
It's a requirement under Welfare and Institution Code, so it's a state requirement for us to have a patient's right advocate program.
And what's the nature of this program model, so to speak? So if there's a disagreement between what services were provided, or just maybe an overview on that?
Yeah, I can provide an overview. So pursuant to statute, we are required to have a patient's right advocate program to provide service to persons served in Lanterman Petrus Short designated facilities. We call them LPS designated facilities, who will provide care for individuals who receive voluntary care, but this statute particularly is to preserve the rights of those who were involuntarily detained pursuant to Welfare and Institution Code 5150 and the subsequent actions that could happen, such as a 5250 14-day certification. The patient's right advocate is the representative of the person served as they go through the due process. So persons retain their rights even when they're involuntarily detained. So they advise every person served in those settings of their rights, and they represent that person's stated interests in any fair hearings pursuant to that involuntary process. In addition to that, they investigate any complaints of rights violations. So if someone believes that they have been denied access to make telephone calls, for example, that's a patient's rights violation, and the patient's rights advocate has the responsibility to investigate those allegations. And then in our contract, we also require them to provide some training as well.
That's what I was curious with the conversation that I think we're going to have in other jurisdictions with regards to like care courts. And what that model will look like for us going forward, right? I mean, what's the implication of that?
So care court is not an involuntary detainment. It's a court-ordered outpatient treatment program. So a patient's rights program wouldn't have a role to play necessarily in that particular care. But if that person in care court also ended up in one of our LPS designated facilities, they certainly would be represented by the patient's rights advocate.
So this would essentially be like not a pre-requirement, but a step before you go into care court?
No, care court is 100% separate and independent from inpatient psychiatric hospitalization. Patients' rights advocate program operates within those psychiatric institutions. So, for example, the Community Regional Medical Center has a distinct part unit psychiatric hospital called Community Behavioral Health Center. It's the largest inpatient psychiatric facility within our county limits, and our patients' rights advocate spends a lot of their time there. They also provide patients' rights services within our Crisis Stabilization Center, our psychiatric health facility, and emergency departments. So it's purely related to the rights of a person in those institutional settings, not in outpatient programs, which care court is.
Okay, let me simplify this a little bit better because I like to bring it down. Distraught person is out in an intersection. Officers respond. This individual, 5150, goes into the system. They now have access to these services.
Where they go will be either an emergency department or the Crisis Stabilization Center, and they will have access to the patient's right advocate in those settings.
Automatically.
Automatically.
They get access to this. Okay, so now we have a paper trail of a track record. Then this is what is utilized for the care court portion, or is that not allowed?
The inpatient stay would be some data that could be utilized to establish eligibility to participate in care court, but whether or not they were represented by the patient's rights advocate would be irrespective of eligibility. It's a completely different business.
That's what I wanted to understand, that key component. It's a model. They're two separate models, it could be at some point connected. That's the reason I was asking those questions. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that. How many of these cases did we have last year by this provider that they worked on?
So I have 6 months of data to share with you this morning. I hope that's acceptable. Our patient's rights advocate that we've been currently working with in an interim capacity in 6 months had 1,016 contacts. Those were mostly advisements and hearings, and of that, there were 27 individuals, 27 complaints that were investigated, so about 3% of total contacts.
Okay. And were the majority of those in urban or rural communities?
So we don't track necessarily by the zip code of where the person served lives. We track it by the facility in which the patient's right advocacy occurs. And we have that data broken down if you're interested by facility.
Yeah, if you could get that to me later. You answered the question, though. I was trying to understand this model. I understand it.
Thank
now.
you, Supervisor.
With that, I'll make the motion to approve the item.
Okay, is there any public comment on this item? Got a motion on the floor?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
We now move to item number 42, pulled by Supervisor Bedefield under Human Resources. Make a finding that it is in the best interest of the county to suspend the competitive bid process consistent with Administrative Policy Number 34 with unusual or extraordinary circumstances when obtaining the services of counsel to assist the county.
Do you have any specific
Yes.
questions?
Yes.
Go ahead and ask.
Okay. Do we have lawyers on staff in county council that specialize in the labor employment law when we have over 8,000 employees, or do we always have to contract for this?
We do. I can defer to Dan, but yes, we do.
We do what?
We do have attorneys that work specifically in personnel and human resources issues.
Okay, because on page 1 of the staff report, it says the county's counsel's office does not provide those specialized services.
The specialized services we were referring to are some of the trainings or some of the very specific questions that may come up in legislation.
Okay, but we do have attorneys for labor, employment issues. Is there a particular reason why then we have to contract this out, these services out?
Dan?
Yeah, I would, Supervisor, it's mostly just a workload question, and Liebert Cassidy is the premier labor firm in the state, and I discussed that earlier. Liebert Cassidy does provide trainings for departments, and sometimes even we get MCLE through them. But if we have issues in front of PERB, sometimes my office handles it. Sometimes because of the nature of the item, it's more efficient for the county to use outside counsel to handle that. Sometimes we have certain investigations of grievances that it's better to have an outside firm take a look at that than inside firm for the labor relations part of it. It's having them in the stable so that we have access to their resources. And then, of course, they provide quite a bit of services in terms of actual hands-on negotiations, particularly in the IHSS area.
Okay, and you could benefit, though, from having more attorneys on staff.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to answer no to that question. Everybody could use more people. We could have more attorneys. The balancing act between, the cost of maintaining employees to do that work versus outside counsel is, a question for the board and the CAO with their budgeting requirements.
Okay,
We
I
definitely use more people for that.
And
We've gone from 1.5 personnel attorneys about 4 years ago to 3 now. And at 3, we're starting, I think, to see that we're handling most of the personnel matters that come up in a smooth manner. So, and we're working with HR closely to try and train the local HR reps in each department, so that a lot of the work that sometimes comes to the attorneys really should be done by just the HR professionals in those departments. Central HR in my office is working on doing that. As that increases, it sort of mitigates the need for on-staff labor attorneys, because we've got people that can handle sort of the non-legal parts of the initial grievance process or the discipline process without having to make access to an attorney every time.
And I hope that when we do the budgeting and you have a need, or any other department has a need, that you present that to the board in public, so this board can make good decisions about how we ought to be spending our dollars. That's a whole nother discussion we'll have, but I appreciate that. I'd like to make a motion to approve the item.
Is there anybody else want to speak on this? Is there any public comment on this? I'll look for a second. Okay, all in favor is going to say an aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Thank you.
We now move to item number 46, pulled by Supervisor Bredefield and Chavez under Internal Services. Approve and authorize chairman to execute an agreement with Electric Power Systems International to provide high-voltage electrical repair, maintenance, inspection, and certification services as needed.
Okay. Yeah, just ask some questions if that's okay, Mr. Chair. Do we not have anyone locally who can provide these services? I noticed this is a provider from Sacramento.
Yeah, so Ed Hill, the Chief Operating Officer, Interim Director, and with me is Brian Burton, who is our Deputy Director over Facilities. This process was acquired through an RFQ process, and they were the lowest bidder in RFQ processes. That is usually the main determining factor. But to answer your question, I'd have to defer if there's anybody local or not. Yeah. Oh, they do have a local branch.
Oh, they do? Okay, because I saw the Sacramento.
That's how they're able to maintain the 1 hour response.
That's why I was going to ask, how do they do that if they're in Sacramento? But they have a branch here locally. Okay, that's what I needed to know.
Okay, I'm just gonna tell you, if you had done your research, talked to them, you wouldn't even needed to pull this item.
You know, Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to run my questions the way I want. I don't need you lecturing me.
Well,
I
I
will
don't
ask
give a shit
anybody out.
what the hell
I don't care what you say, Mr. Chairman. I will ask out in the public any question I want, whether you like it or not.
I don't care.
I don't either. That's why we're here. We're here for transparency and accountability. This is the public. This is the public's business. If you don't like it, tough. Now we can proceed.
Do you want to, is there any more discussion?
Yeah, I got a couple questions on that, Chairman. I saw the staff report. They do have the 1 hour response. They do have the local offices here. What exactly do they provide for us? Because on there I saw that if, for whatever reason, the board does not provide this, I spoke to our CEO, there was a worst case scenarios on there. So what exactly do they do for us that requires a 1 hour response?
So this organization will be deployed during emergency responses. The most recent example we can give you is a UMC power outage. It was secondary to a major copper theft, and that was over the 480 volts. Because of that, and we do not have staff that have that licensure and certification. But it was a critical need because we have to stand that facility power the entire complex, which we have facilities operating there.
We don't have capacity basically internally. We have to do this.
Correct. Our maintenance electricians, they're certified up to 480, but not anything over that. And this is anything over that. And we do have maintenance projects as well, but they're not frequent enough to add additional staff.
Okay. Thank you. Those answer my questions. I mean, I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. Any public comment? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Yeah, I do have something to say. Let's keep the money here in Fresno.
Hey, any more demonstrations, I'm going to ask you all to leave.
What is the definition of a demonstration?
Just what you just did, and you're doing it right now.
No, I'm just asking a question. I have the
I got a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Item 48, this item was pulled by Supervisor Maxer to recuse himself due to the Levine Act. Approve and authorize chairman to execute a countywide agreement with Pacific Publishing Group.
So with that, I'm going to step out.
Did you pull the item, or who pulled it?
No, I pulled it.
Oh, okay. Is there any public comment on this item? I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Well-
Mr. Chairman, you might want to take item 52 just for convenience, since that's also one that Supervisor Maxick is recusing himself on.
That is correct. Item 52 under public health, this was also pulled by Supervisor Bredefield.
Okay, is there any public comment on this item? You got a question?
Which
Gary?
item?
52.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes, I was thinking.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, I was wondering if you could explain the HVN program and specifically the three main components which allude to understanding racism and community engagement and things of that sort.
I can't,
I'm sorry. Could you please explain the HVN program and the three components, particularly where it alludes to shared analysis and understanding racism and things of that sort?
so the Home Visitation Network program has been a program in partnership for several years. The key thing is doing home visitation with either public health nurses or non-nursing staff to go into the home to make sure we have better outcomes on maternal outcomes. Fresno County tends to have a higher rate, especially with the African-American population and black population, on infant mortality rates and preterm births. So it's a partnership that works together to make sure we improve on those numbers.
Okay, and I understand there have been those numbers, but what is the racism part that you allude to in here?
Some of that is some training for the staff who are in the home visitation on racial understanding and implicit bias and understanding the culture you're working with. Some is also in bilingual training. It's all about understanding the culture when you're dealing in the home, because you're going into the home environment and understanding what are some of the barriers that might be impacting their pregnancy and also birth outcomes.
Okay. Understand cultural bias and the need to understand that. But is racism playing a role in these higher mortality rates?
When you look at maternal health, especially once again the African American and black population, they're looking at sometimes implicit bias on some of the care there. That's why you're seeing a higher level. And this is not just in our local area, but around the state and the nation. Why maternal outcomes, you tend to see more maternal deaths in the African population. So there is training about it. There's making sure there's no implicit bias, which how we are raised sometimes and what we're exposed to can cause impacts, and then recognizing that.
Okay. I just get uncomfortable when we label things racism. I understand implicit bias.
Yeah. It's really, our job is to make sure we improve the health outcomes. And we're going to use every way with our partnerships to make sure we're doing the best we can.
I would ask that you be cautious in some of the language. I understand the job. It's a very important job. I support the job.
Appreciate that.
That's all.
Appreciate that.
With
No,
that, I'd like to make a motion. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
We're open on direction on the language and all that. We'll work with our county council. You tell us on that. I mean,
Well, as I'm sharing with you, I'm uncomfortable when it's about this whole racism thing. So I ask you to be sensitive to that. But I understand bias and things of that sort.
no, I appreciate you bringing that up.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay, is there any public comment on this item? I got a motion to approve. Second. All in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll go to 51. Go ahead and get, as you.
Item number 51, under Public Health, pulled by Supervisor Redefield, approve and authorize chairman to execute an agreement with California Department of Public Health.
Okay, this is, I guess, a contract to do more testing related to, is it?
This
Well,
is
why don't you
COVID
explain
test-
it?
Yeah, this is our
Yeah, I know.
typical surveillance of COVID. You could say this with other viruses. You're working with the state public health labs to monitor if the virus, how it's evolving, how it's changing. So it's all about a surveillance network. So as providers or hospitals submit COVID samples to us, I forgot to introduce Joe Prado, who's our assistant director, just in case I don't answer, he'll come in. So whatever samples we get, we submit it into the state lab for more typing.
So the pandemic is over, right?
Okay.
The pandemic is over, correct?
Yeah, now we're normalizing what we do in a typical infectious diseases.
Which is to continue to monitor the spread.
COVID, action of COVID, so we watch surveillance like wastewater surveillance to see if there's a lot of COVID activity. Thankfully, the severity of the illness has gone way down. Hospitalizations are nothing like it was
Right.
during the pandemic, but we still monitor because it keeps changing.
Are you still doing contact tracing?
We do not do any contact tracing. We don't even get reports actually directly from the
Because I thought in the contract it talks about with enhanced testing, intensive contact tracing, effective
We
isolation.
don't do any contact tracing.
No. So is it, well, it's alluded to in here as though it's being done.
Not for COVID. The main thing
It's generally, this
is
is
general
general speaking.
surveillance, early surveillance to make sure the virus, we're up to speed on the changes in the virus. It's kind of what we're doing with avian influenza. You're monitoring as people get sick, is that virus changing? So that's what I mean. I hate to use the word normalizing, but we're normalizing infectious disease as we would do with others.
Okay, and this is a 3-year contract?
Yeah.
Okay.
And no money in this one.
I'm sorry?
No money.
Okay. Any particular reason why it's not a yearly deal as opposed to 3 years?
Yeah. I think it's just standard.
Standard? Okay. And then you indemnify, I believe, item 9 on page 6, the California Department of Public Health. And it says you indemnify them and hold them harmless against any and all claims, losses, liability, damages, costs, and expenses, including attorney's fees that result from or arise directly or indirectly out of or in connection with any negligent act or omission or willful misconduct of participant, its officers, workforce members, or agents relative to this agreement. So you're indemnifying CDPH even if they are engaged in willful misconduct.
I mean, for our partners, as we go through the contract with the county family and all that, it's considered low risk. We've not had an issue.
I know, but why would we indemnify anybody against willful misconduct? If they do things that are wrong, they are negligent acts, they omit things. We saw that all during COVID. We saw a bunch of lies that were spread about COVID by, frankly, your interim health officer, along with Dr. Gailey, along with Dr. Fauci, a lot of omissions, a lot of misleading things. There's been no accountability. The interim health officer is still working here. Fauci got left. Nothing like trust the science and get a pardon from the president so you can trust the science and hold him against all criminal acts from 2014 till now. And yet we want to indemnify, hold harmless the California Department of Public Health that instituted policies that kept kids out of school for 2 years, that hurt people left and right, that shut down businesses, closed churches, held the abortion clinics open, and we want to indemnify them. Why?
Supervisor Bredefeld, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, County Council, the indemnification is if we as a county make a mistake and somehow there's a lawsuit that comes from that. I don't believe, when I read that section, that if CDPH makes a mistake, that we then are going to protect them. So I think it's if we make a mistake.
Is it we, us? What, we're indemnifying ourselves?
They don't get involved. They're protected if we're getting sued.
But that paragraph is about CDPH.
And if I could, Supervisor, the difficulty with a lot of these contracts with state programs is we get delivered the contract by the state. If you don't sign that contract the way it is, you're not going to have the program. And it's
I'm good with that.
They're giving it to us as an adhesion, contract.
Okay,
And
but it
that's-
is what it is, though. It is indemnifying the California Department of Public Health, not ourselves.
It's a risks and benefits. There's going to be other agreements. Sometimes you see that we do this indemnify language, and that's why we always make sure to talk to council and HR. How high is the risk?
Well, instead of indemnifying them, could we do like Fauci got, could we just pardon them? Maybe we could get a presidential pardon if they mess up.
Is that a question?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not going to support this. I'm not going to indemnify people who've already proven a terrible record, hurt people so much, made sure that people don't trust the science anymore, and we're going to continue to do this. And we also have an order on balance now from this county, from your interim health officer, forcing people to take a flu vaccine for 5 months. If not, wear a mask that doesn't protect against viruses. We learned that, but you still have that going on. But that's another story. I'm not supporting this.
And again, Mr. Chairman, so on this, I need clarification because it's very important. Because if we're indemnifying only where maybe we have made a mistake and a lawsuit arises, I can support that. But if it's indemnifying, if any lawsuit comes out and we're not at fault and it's CDPH's fault, we can't be protecting them for their own mistakes. So I
understanding-
need that crystal clear.
The indemnification provision is for any action or malfeasance on the part of the county.
On the county, yes.
And in this sort of situation where all we're doing is transferring in data, the risk of that type of thing is incredibly low. We were not making decisions on any individual case. This is a data collection and health monitoring situation.
I just needed that clarified. Thank you.
Supervisor, it says right here that participant agrees to indemnify, hold harmless, and defend the CDPH. That's what it's saying, not us.
Right. If we do something, if in driving a sample, a set of samples from CMC over to the health department because we couldn't get it transferred electronically, one of our our county health people rear-ends somebody on the street. If I'm that plaintiff's attorney, I'm suing everybody involved in that state program. I'm suing the State Department of Public Health, I'm suing the whatever, but the state's gonna say, hey, wait a minute, that wasn't my fault that your person was a bad driver and you handled that correctly. You need to
Got it. But
indemnify me.
that's not what the paragraph says.
That's the
I understand what
purpose.
you're saying, but that's not what the
purpose.
paragraph says.
Yeah, when we would indemnify the Department of Public Health, the State Department of Public Health,
It
and
doesn't
not
say,
make them defend
it
that
doesn't
lawsuit.
say from egregious acts from the county. It says from CDPH. It's not clear if that's what your intent was. I don't know if it's your language or not, but that's,
Our language. either.
okay, but
It's-
that's what it's saying. It's not saying the county, it's saying CDPH. You can say something here, but that's what that says.
Okay, I'll bring it back to the board. Is there any public comment on that?
Yes, there is. My name is Mary Helen Lopez, and I live at 1426 Carmen, California. My question is, if we are, what's the rules of engagement here? Because evidently some are confused of maybe people speaking out in terms
On
that they're
this
going to be
item,
removed,
on
going to be
this
removed
item.
from things that are being said. If I question
Is this a
this
comment
and I
on this
question that,
item?
I'm questioning on this. Why should we pay for somebody that made a mistake? Why should we pay for somebody that ran over somebody? That person is involved. Why should we? Why should all of you condone this?
I agree. I would ask for consideration to look at how this is going to affect everyone. If you're making a bad decision based off of what the Department of Public Health is recommending to you, it kind of goes hand in hand. I personally have been affected by this. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 22 years. I worked at every single hospital. I will say implicit bias had never been brought up. I've been called a racist in the last 3 years. Never had been in my life. When I went to Fresno State and graduated from there, I'd never been told, you know, that when I take care of patients in labor and delivery, I take care of the patient. And then based off of their medical conditions, not what color they are, what their religious practices are. And now I haven't been able to work because of these policies. All right, so I just want to say, just take consideration into the liability, because it's not just liability, it's you're taking recommendations from them, so liability is by their recommendations. So, thank you.
Bring it back to the board.
And I'll make some comments on this particular item. So again, as I read item 51, what this is for is in regards to SARS-CoV-2 whole genome sequencing services. So basically tracking, looking at the genome sequencing of COVID and how this virus continues to mutate. So that's number one. With some of the issues that are brought up, very, very relevant and important. And the motion that I'm going to make is going to include language that, again, when it comes to indemnification, we do not indemnify CDPH, California Department of Public Health. We only indemnify them if acts that we have caused. If they cause acts, they're actually going to have to indemnify us from a lawsuit. So I will make a motion for this item as long as that language is included in the legal agreement, that the indemnification goes both ways. For acts that they cause, they indemnify us if there's a lawsuit. Acts that we cause, where there could be a lawsuit, we'll indemnify them. That's the only reasonable way to move forward, in my opinion.
I'll second that.
Got a motion on the floor?
Second.
You gonna second it, Luis?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, so we're saying aye?
Aye.
Any
No.
opposed?
No.
1 no, 4-1.
4-1 with Supervisor Bredefield voting no. We now move to item number 54, which was pulled by Supervisor Bredefield. Approve and authorize the chairman to execute an agreement with Diamond Drugs Incorporated.
Yeah, just a quick question. You mentioned about Diamond, and that the email that you sent went to their spam, correct? And that's why they didn't respond. How do we know other companies also didn't have that email go to their spam?
Yeah,
And so they didn't apply?
that's a good question. We're going to have to,
Yeah.
good question.
Joe Prado, Assistant Director, Department of Public Health. Yeah, we'll work with our purchasing department to really start assessing that. When we were made aware of that, that was disheartening because they have been a long-term partner. So we'll be reaching out with purchasing to see how that email is going out. That's managed through our purchasing division.
Yeah, I just would like other people, because might have had the same problem. What was the contract that Diamond got paid before?
So
They were
it's-
they were our contracting provider before,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, they've been our contracted provider previously. It can go back to 2013. So from 2013 onward to now, it's probably over $1 million from 2013.
Okay, and so how was the million decided upon for this contract?
So it was really looking at actual costs. So we're looking at, mainly it's our tuberculosis clinic, seeing what the actual costs are and being able to negotiate that rate and then coming up with the annual amount.
Okay, and you have a good relationship with Diamond?
Yeah. Diamond Drugs provides excellent service, and also if drugs are expiring, they allow us to send it back in. They redistribute, and we get a credit in our account. Not a lot of companies actually do that.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay, is there any public comment on this? Got a motion on the floor? Second. Got a second? All in favor, so by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. There's one more? One more, 58.
Item 58, which was pulled by Supervisor Bredefield under Public Works and Planning, approve and authorize chairman to execute an agreement with Stearns
It was
Conrad.
pulled by Luis.
Oh, I apologize. It's pulled by Supervisor Chavez under Public Works and Planning, approve and authorize chairman to execute an agreement with Stearns, Conrad, and Smith Consulting Services Incorporated.
Thank you for that, Clerk. Thank you to our staff for walking me through the difference, obviously, between the county waste management plan and the city. I did have a couple of follow-up questions. I think in the spirit of SB 1383 and that mandate that we're going to have to comply with, I think my concern was only that as we're going through developing this plan, and I believe we have a number of vendors that we work here for our county islands, for, waste management across the county. But they have their own plans too, as well, right? Because they operate within other jurisdictions. What I want to make sure we do is, if we're able to find some efficiencies or even some future cost savings, that we work with those trash haulers and folks. So maybe if you walk us through the timeline. So our current contracts will expire in 2028 or so?
Correct.
So we still have a couple of years to work through what the regulations will be. The question I did have, and this will be important for the budget conversation, the requirements for all of the green vehicle, transitioning, would that be upon us as a county or the service providers?
You're talking about the zero emissions fleet requirement. I believe those requirements are in the process of being relaxed for now. We would work with contractors in the future to make sure that they comply with that through our contractual agreement. So we would hold them accountable to make sure that their fleets were meeting those state requirements for green fleet.
It would be upon us to enforce that requirement on our vendors. That's what I wasn't clear on, and I wanted to get clarity on.
No problem.
We've got obviously a lot of those folks that we're working with already. I think SB 1383 is going to be very challenging to accomplish. And then the last question I had was, I think our team brought up the fact that the Prop 18 process is different because on our end, is it voluntary? Once we mandate, that's when Prop 218 kicks in for our folks. Is that correct, CIO?
That is correct. So these services are currently voluntary, but if it changed to a mandated services, that's when a Prop 218 would be in effect.
And we rely on our vendors to bring back what the actual cost is of removing trash, what it's organic, all that.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I really appreciate it, and really appreciate your team walking me through that yesterday on that. With that, I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Okay, is there any public comment on 58? I got a motion on the floor. Second. Got a second. All in favor, so by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes all our consent items, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We now return to your regular agenda, which is item number 7 under Supervisor Bredefield. Provide direction on one of the following options, including funding alternatives.
Yes, thank you.
Renovating the Hall of Records, build a new building, and select a new site for the Board of Supervisors chambers and the associated county staff.
Chairman?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I wanted to bring this forward so the board could give the CEO direction. I understand there's been a lot of discussion. I understand $40 million has been set aside, which I think has been very wise by the board. Some of the comments from our last meeting when we kind of raised this issue was that we've taken care or have to take care of our employees, and frankly, I think you've done a good job of doing that. Just some of the projects that have been done is the West Annex Jail for $100 million, the Area 2 substation. Supervisor Chavez and I went out to visit Department of Social Services, beautiful 5 buildings out there, state-of-the-art for 2,200 employees. Again, I commend you 3 and prior board members for doing that. Department of Behavioral Health, the Rowell Building for the DA. The assessor moved to a new building, and I'm sure, and the libraries that you're doing. That's phenomenal. Say it again?
Animal control.
Well, it should have been done with the city, but that's another story. But no, fantastic work, and I think you have addressed that. This is a building that's, 90 years old already. It's seen better days, and I think frankly, the city of Fresno 35, 40 years ago built a new city hall, brought all their services together. I think it was a wise move then. Federal courthouse, they did a similar thing, beautiful facility because it was old. And I think the county of Fresno has really not done what it needed to do. This building, while it may be historic, is as I said, nearly 90 years old. Elevators get stuck with people in there. There are all kinds of security issues for this building for staff or elected officials. There's one entrance, one exit. I'm told the building gets cold in the winter. It's hot in the summer. This chamber is antiquated. It fills up very easily. With 1.1 million people, the agricultural region for the world, I think we ought to be doing a whole lot better for our constituents, for our staff. And so I think we really should be moving towards a new building. I look at this emblem. It's also quite old. It's probably been here all that time. I don't know what that plant is, if it's a pot plant in that emblem or what it is, but it's old. Not enough leaves. I wouldn't know that, Nathan, but so I really believe that we ought to be moving forward, give direction to the CAO to look for sites if they haven't already been done. Come back in either 60 days or 90 days with financing plan and really move this county forward with a new chamber. I look at some of the chambers across the state of California. They're very up to date. They look great. And again, I think our staff, if we built a building, we could, bring county council and others into that facility and make it a comfortable place for our residents and constituents to come. So I would like to make a motion, and I know there'll be discussion, to move forward with a new building, that's the policy and the direction of this board for the CAO to come back with various sites and financing plan for that new building within 60 days or 90 days, whatever you feel is important, CAO. And I'm open to the discussion. I know there's been a committee that's been meeting, and I respect the work of that committee, but and I want to hear what others have to say, but that's the direction I think we ought to go. And I think staff wants that, the people who work in this building want that, and I think most importantly, our constituents would like to see that happen for the county.
Okay, Nathan, you're on the
Yep.
committee.
So just a couple comments. First, Gary, awesome. I agree with you. This building, it's actually 2 buildings. The first half was built in 1935. The half that we're in was built in the 1950s, about 1955 here. And when you look outside, it looks like one building, but it's actually 2 that were glued together. This building's antiquated. Plumbing, the electrical systems in here are all original to the 1930s and 1950s, which is scary.
No, it's actually the main breaker's 1930s.
Yeah, main breaker is 1930s, and when that goes out, we actually have to have people come out and manufacture parts because they don't exist. They don't make those kind of parts anymore. So you're spot on. And I'll tell you that previous boards really appreciate my colleagues on the left and other supervisors who recognized that about 8 years ago and started putting money away, and we were able to do different projects. And yes, you're right, there's about $40 million that we've been able to set aside for new facilities, which sounds like a lot, but really it's not. I'll tell you that slated in this next year, we need to take the lid off the parking structure outside. That alone is going to be $13 million because water has damaged it. One thing which has kind of challenged us here at this site on what do we do is a few years ago, the state of California, in their budget, put $760 million in there to build a new courthouse. And so we've been working with the courts over the course of the last really 2.5 years, trying to figure out where exactly are we going to put this new building. Well, last year, or actually, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, the state pulled that money back and only kept about $21 million in the budget for it. This year, they gave a few million more, about $8 million more. I think we're up to $29 million for that project. But they pulled almost all that $760 million back to actually build that building. The reason that's important is if we're going to stay on this campus, it makes sense to partner with the courts. So whatever we build complements what they build, because we use a tunneling system, and that tunneling system needs to tie into the sheriff's department. So all that's very important. So, but your comments are timely. I'm glad that you brought this item so we can talk about it, because I know that Brian and I are going to be discussing this later today. We sit on a subcommittee that's been meeting for a few years, trying to figure out what is the where is the right location to build facilities that are so desperately needed here at the county. So your comments about wanting to have some additional information from the CAO in the next 60 to 90 days, I think that's absolutely going to happen. Because after our meeting today, we're going to talk about, Brian and I are going to talk about some options that may exist. And we may need to move forward without the courts, because who knows, the state may never come up with the money necessary, or at least in our 10 years, to build a new courthouse. And so we've got to figure out what our next move is. And so I think that's going to be happening very, very shortly. So thank you for your comments.
Yeah, Brian?
Sure, and I would just add on to that too. As you stated, this just doesn't happen overnight. We've been working years for this. I believe we've done a due diligence, and that we have put away slowly but surely a little bit of money to accumulate up to $40 million to not impact any of our employees of our departments, to do it the responsible way. But again, like you said, with the animal shelter, and should have partnered with the city, we were going full steam ahead until the state came along. And so now, to try and be a good steward of our resources, we were trying to partner with the state, because we don't want to build a building and then have the state court come in and say, we need it over here as well, because it's a lot more complicated than it appears, because it involves our sheriff administration building in the whole process on this campus. And as Nathan alluded to, that maybe many people don't even know, there are tunnels underground where they transport the prisoners for the safety of the public, and all that has to be taken into consideration. Again, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but we are meeting today. I think it's a little premature. It's been on our radar for years. And again, we're trying to be good stewards with our tax dollars and good partners with the state in making the whole thing come together. So irregardless if this was on the agenda or not, our committee will be coming back to the board within 2 weeks or 30 days as a report from what our latest discussions are with the state. And I'll just leave it at that.
I just want to add on, I agree with you, Gary. I mean, we've even looked at, can we vacate this building and completely remodel it? And we've come to the conclusion we can't even do that, because that other building's a little different. It has columns in the middle.
Yeah.
So structurally, that wasn't going to work. But I totally agree with you. We need to do something and continue to look for something.
Can I comment?
Yeah.
I agree with all the comments. I would hesitate. My concern with the state is that they can drag this out forever, and they have already. And at some point, I think we need to cut bait and run and do something different. I think it's important for us, though, as a body, and while you're meeting, that's important, but to give the direction to the CAO that it is a new building. That's what we're looking for. What site? I don't know who's going to determine that site. I don't know if it's the CAO who comes up with sites, or it's you guys who do that. But that process, we ought to really be invested in really moving forward, and maybe getting the staff to do that and come back with timelines so we can really move the ball. We can really advance this. We can really get this done, because we know, building a building takes a long time, and we've got to get financing for this and discuss the financing for this. So I'm just interested in really moving this forward as opposed to, just talking. And I know, and I'm not suggesting at all that's happening here, but I just want to move the ball forward. And I think if council takes at least the action of, we are moving towards a new building, and I hear that's what it seems like, everybody's pretty much in agreement. I think that gives the CAO the direction that that's where we're going. Can you comment on that? 'Cause I think we're
Before he
looking for some
comments, Mr. Chair, if I could just weigh in, I agree with my colleagues. I think this building is old, dilapidated, it's not very welcoming to our public that comes in. I think we could fit a lot more people if we had the capacity for them to engage. But I do want to provide clarity for our staff, and I also want to be thoughtful about the process that has already taken place with our colleagues, Supervisor Magzik and Pacheco. And so I think, it's a little bit difficult to have these conversations back there. I think because of the Brown Act, we have to have these conversations publicly. But I do want to weigh in and say that I would be supportive of doing that for the benefit of our staff and our team. What I'm interested in is, from our committee, what would be the timeline? So you both would meet today?
Yeah, today.
Vet all the options with our folks and then come back to the board in a couple of weeks, I think you mentioned, Supervisor Pacheco?
That might be a little bit too mature, but maybe.
A couple of
meeting
months,
after.
a month?
The meeting after, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it gives our CAO some time also to finance, magically crunch some numbers and do that.
Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, members of the board. Welcome this conversation, and what I hear from all of you is agreement of a need for action, and I appreciate that. What I would suggest is, it depends what we're coming back with. When this committee meets, as you said, we've been talking about options, and those options include, even philosophically, where are we looking to locate this? In the past, we were talking about options that included renovation of this building. It also included options of building. And so that's philosophically part of what we need to come back with. And then secondarily, what do we want to see? And as Supervisor Pacheco indicated, the court project, because it would impact our sheriff administration building and potentially a temporary relocation of that entire department while we look for options, is another complicated piece of this. But my suggestion is, if we're coming back, I like the first time frame better as far as the time, because there's a lot to do to vet this. We want to come back with options that are vetted for the public. So I think Supervisor Bredefeld mentioned 60 days, or maybe the first board meeting after that. So that would be my suggestion to make sure we do this right, and we come back with good options.
And am I hearing consensus that it is a new building that we're looking towards doing?
Yeah.
So then I think you at least have that.
We can eminent domain City Hall as a superseding.
We could try.
But anyway, again, we will be meeting today and again, so that we don't violate any rules and have complete transparency. We can come back and within 30 days and just tell you the results of that meeting, and then give a little clearer direction as to how to proceed. But again, Supervisor Maxey and I have done a lot of legwork on this over the years, and we're at the stage now that it should start to move pretty quickly. And again, we're going to get a report today from the courts as to what their status is. And again, if they give us another delay, then I would agree with you. We're going to have to go on our own, and they're going to have to catch up to us.
Thank you,
But
Supervisor.
I think within at least 30 days, we can give you the results of our committee meeting and what we're looking at, so that we keep moving in the same direction
Terrific.
without any final decision. And again, this body will make all final decisions. Yeah, it's not the committee or the staff. It's the five of us will make the final decision, and we'll try and give you as many options as we have available to make the best decision.
Thank you.
And we, I think Supervisor Chavez said it the best. This is something that we have to talk about at the dais because of the Brown Act. So we will come back.
Thank you.
Okay, next item.
We now move to item number 8, under Public Defender. Adopt resolution to fill an executive assistant position with extra help retiree Marcia Coop, effective February 3rd, 2025.
I'm going to go pee real quick.
My name is Antoinette Tylek. I proudly serve as the public defender here in Fresno County. And this is Angel Lopez, my business manager. So it's our request to bring Marcia Coop back as an extra help employee. She left in October.
Yeah, right.
Our current administrative assistant is out on an emergency medical leave. It's taken 3 of us to do the job of 1 person. So I just want to give a shout out to all the executive assistants in Fresno County because they work really, really hard. And ours in particular handles all of our HR issues. We don't have an HR department. And the good news about this request is that there's no increase in the net county cost.
Excellent. That concludes your presentation?
Yes, it does.
Any members have anything? Anybody from the public want to speak on this item? Seeing none, close the public portion. We've closed the public portion, buddy.
We're ready for motions.
Okay, that was quick. Did you ask for public comment?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Also move for approval of staff's recommendation.
Second?
Okay, I'll take Gary's second. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried, thank you.
Thank you. We now move to item number 9 under Public Works and Planning. Adopt resolution to fill a road operations lead supervisor position with extra help retiree Philip Fertilage, effective February 3rd, 2025.
Good morning, board members. Same issues you had from the last item in front of you. We're asking to bring back an extra health issue. Same medical condition, one of the superintendents was down, has been down for a period of time. And, sorry, the other one broke his foot. So with this, we only have one superintendent covering the entire county and roads department. So with your approval, we'll bring this person back and then be able to use this person to help train our team and go through the process. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the board? Any comment from the public? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, did I get a motion? I need a motion.
I'll move.
Okay. All right. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried.
Thank you very much.
We now move to item number 10 under Public Works and Planning. Consider and approve petition for partial cancellation of agricultural land conservation contract number 162 filed by James Historf to remove a 60-acre portion of a 123-acre parcel from Williamson Act contract.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Alexander Pretzer, planner with the Department of Public Works and Planning. This item comes to your board with a recommendation for approval based on staff's ability to make all the required findings as discussed in the staff report. I have nothing further to add to this item unless you have any questions of staff.
Okay, Nathan, it's in your district.
Yeah, it's straightforward. You know, sometimes these come to us without staff's recommendations and have to make findings, you know, to move forward. So in this case, staff was able to make those findings and appreciate that. I really have nothing further to comment about on this item.
Okay. Anybody else?
No.
Is there public comment on this item?
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Jim Heisdorf. I'm the applicant and the owner of the property, and I appreciate your time hearing this item this morning. Sounds like I don't have to say anything right now, but I'm here for questions if anybody has any.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Looking for a motion? Yeah, the public portion's closed.
I'll move for staff's recommendation.
Second?
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you.
We now move to item number 11 under Public Works and Planning. Conduct public protest hearing regarding the proposed annexation of territory to Community Facilities District 2006-01.
That took longer than possible to see, right? Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is John Donmeyer, and I'm with Public Works and Planning Design Division. The item before you today is to the proposed annexation number 11A, territory for track map number 6382 to the countywide Community Facilities District number 2006-01 for police protection services. The proposed annexation territory 11A is located in the unincorporated community of Prather, California. Staff is asking your board to conduct 3 matters today. First, a protest hearing on the proposed annexation.
Second, landowners special election on a special tax within the annexation territory. And third, a first reading of the special tax levy ordinance. To complete these proceedings, your board needs to adopt 2 resolutions on file with the clerk. First, if there is no majority protest of landowners or registered voters residing within the district or in the proposed annexation territory at today's protest hearing, your board may adopt the resolution calling a special election of the landowners in the proposed annexation territory. Second, the clerk of the board then conducts the landowner special election. The combined ballot questions are the levy of the special tax and the inclusion of the annexation territory in the district for purposes of the district's appropriation limit. The proposed initial annual maximum tax rates will be $884.77 per single-family residence and $665.55 per multifamily unit. These rates escalate annually based on a CPI plus 3% increase. The votes are canvassed based on 1 vote per acre of land or a portion of an acre. If there are 2/3 more yes votes, your board may adopt the resolution declaring election results and annexing the territory to the district. Next, the clerk may announce the first reading of the tax levy ordinance. Your board may waive reading that ordinance in its entirety and conduct the first reading of that ordinance by reading its title only. Today's protest hearing was timely noticed by both publishing and mailing the notice to the landowners in the annexation territory in accordance with the law. As stated earlier, the protest hearing is the first step in today's proceedings. This concludes staff presentation. I will now answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, any comments from the board? Go ahead.
Just real quick, general comments about this for the new members. So I think the Melrose districts that we create came out of the 2000 Fresno County General Plan. It's under policy PF-G.2, where it just basically says that we try to maintain a staffing ratio of 2 sworn officers serving the unincorporated residents per 100,000 residents served. Is that correct? Maybe Will Kettler might have to answer that if you don't know off the top of your head, but I'm pretty sure that's where this comes from. So this has been in place for years. This isn't something new that we do. It's been in place for 25 years roughly.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I will open, anybody else? Okay, I'll open the public portion of this hearing to receive public testimony and any written or oral protests for proposed annexation of Territory 11A to the county-wide Melrose Community Facilities District. Madam Clerk, have you had any written
My name
protests?
is Mary Helen Lopez. And this annexation that you have going on, first of all, engagement. Rules of engagement here. Can you enlighten me for I don't hurt your feelings?
Question I have,
If I say something that's...
You don't hurt my feelings. My wife yells at me all the time, so I've got good training. But a quick comment I have about this. Do you live in the Prather area that's affected by this?
No, I do not.
Okay.
But I have a question because I'm a resident
of Prather?
Fresno County.
Okay. It's important because the hearing that we're about to conduct, we need to hear from residents who are in the affected area.
Yeah, because you know something about widely majority protests, you know?
Yeah, but that's for the residents that are in the affected area.
But I might participate in it with them, helping them.
Well, again, the reason this is important is we need to hear if we have residents who live in the affected area. That's the protest that we're talking about. You're more than welcome to make some public comment on this item if you like.
But I'm doing a public comment.
Okay.
So now I'm saying to you, rules of engagement here. What is it that you're trying to tell me that I'm not understanding?
No,
You
this
only
is
want the people
public
that live in the
comment.
surrounding area to speak.
Excuse me, this
So
is public
let me sit
comment,
down?
not
Are you telling me to
public
sit
question
down?
and answer.
We're just following a procedural thing in accordance
There's
with
this
the law.
first enlightenment of people coming out. It's been in what, 25 years, somebody said? And this is the first time I hear about it. I'm glad we're all having an enlightenment here.
Thank you.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, did you have any written protests on this matter?
I do not, no.
Okay, thank you. Are there any protests from the public on this matter?
Gentlemen, we are the sole owners of the property. All three of us are the sole owners of the property, and none of us obviously are here to protest this the process. So that's where we're at.
You're in support of staff's recommendation, and just want to hear that for the record. You're in support of staff's recommendation? All right, thank you.
Perfect. We're done.
Clerk, close the protest hearing.
Oh, you go ahead and close it?
Resolution. Calling the special
Okay, I'll
election.
close the public hearing.
And there's no, I have 0 written protests.
We are now recommending action 2. Madam Clerk, please provide the total number of written protests. Would you say?
0.
None?
Not that one.
She comes to your every other month. Yeah, every
So what do we, what's the next deal?
Approve the resolution in
Approve
support
the
of creating the
resolution for
district?
calling for the
Somebody
special
I'll make that
election.
motion.
Got a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, point of order, staff has a comment to make on this item.
Yeah, they need to hold the landowner special election. So they just need to
We're on
cast
item
their
3.
votes.
So now we hold the special election.
Okay, now we're
You
holding
hold
the
it,
special
and now we
election
hold it.
with
Yeah.
one voter. Correct?
He's going to vote. They want more police service is what they do this for an extra deputy. They're willing-
Gary. Yeah, I think so. You seconded it, didn't you?
Yes, I
Or
said,
no, I guess
It was-
Luis
was
did.
Louise.
oh, Luis,
Okay.
we look alike.
Yeah.
Print and sign your name there. Yes, and then fill all that out.
So where we at now?
They're voting.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully it doesn't take 30 days to count it.
Yeah.
Oh, they're tallying them because it's only them.
Normally they do this in the beginning, and then we keep going through business, and then we come back, so we don't have to stop like this. Yeah. Still pretty good time for all the items today. Yeah,
Totally.
Yeah. That was the most often sent in my 10 years here. Yeah.
I feel like I was being guilty. 10 items every
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
15 items
yeah.
every time.
I think it'll get easier once you get more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, go across,
Yeah.
I have some questions
Yeah.
that I want to be heard.
Yeah.
Seal it in there.
City, we'd still be listening to public comment.
Yeah. We do ours at the end.
You suck.
Yeah.
You suck.
Oh, that's coming too. Yeah.
See? Yeah.
Thank you very much. And the moment we've all been waiting for.
We should go ahead and canvass the votes.
I'm waiting on the clerk, I think, now.
This is for recommend action 3 of the agenda item, correct? Both official ballots say yes. We have 2.
Say that again?
We have 2 ballots, and they both say yes.
Okay, all right. We are now recommending action 4. Is there, yes, is your motion still good for action 4?
Yeah, approving the resolution.
Yeah, okay. All in favor is going to say an aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. We are now recommending action 5. Is there a motion to waive the reading of the ordinance and levy the special tax within the annexation territory? Okay,
Second.
second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Is there a motion to designate county council to prepare a fair and adequate summary of the proposed ordinance, to direct the clerk of the board to post and publish the required summary of the ordinance, and set February 11th, 2025 as a date for the second reading of the proposed ordinance by this board?
And before someone makes a motion, let me just read the title of the ordinance so it's very clear. An ordinance of the County of Fresno levying a special tax within annexation territory number 11A of Community Facilities District number 2006-01, Police Protection Services of the County of Fresno.
Okay,
Second.
second. All in favor is going to say an aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move to
Item 12,
committee reports.
Board of Supervisor Committee reports and comments.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just really briefly, had the opportunity to sit on the WIB board. We discussed obviously some projects coming up in the One Voice conversation. And I believe Supervisor Magzik has a project in that queue with regards to fire preparation. I'll provide some information for the board. However, what that looks like, I think I could turn it into the clerk and they can distribute. And then we signed the documents related to the tobacco securitization board. Thank you, Supervisor Butterfield, for letting me chair that.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
You're
that. Once in a blue moon, we have to sign documents, and Fresno County was a lead in the JPA. And then Supervisor Pacheco will have the first meeting for First Five Commission tomorrow. Thank you for the work you did for, I think, 8 years on there. Very smooth, plug and play. So appreciate the transition and the legwork. And I do want to request a memo from our CAO. Obviously, with the developing issues coming up with our executive order from the president, has a lot of direct implications for us locally, particularly with CDBG. I believe our SNAP program as well, EBT. Just want to make sure that we're able to take care of folks that we need to take care of. I believe it'll be paused for 2 weeks or so, February 10th. So CAO would like to get that for all of my colleagues. If they're interested, I'm definitely interested in getting a memo on what the implications are and what our plan will be for providing those services. Thank you.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, a couple things. Yesterday, there was an order that was given by the president, which basically ceases funding to federal programs with the exception of Social Security and I think Medicare. My concern is I don't believe Medicaid was exempted. I know that LIHEAP, which is Low Income Housing Energy Assistance Program, which a lot of folks in Fresno County rely on, that's being impacted. And I think all federal programs are being impacted. The reason I'm raising this up is this is significant, and I believe that this delay in payment is going to be in effect until February 10th. And if it extends beyond that, my concern is it's going to immediately affect programs that we have right here in the county. I just want to be on record stating that the county is not in a position to float these programs. Again, our budget is large. It's we've authorized or given authorization to spend up to $5.2 billion in the budget, but only $380 million is discretionary. Most of that other funding comes from state and federal sources. So if that funding shuts off, it's going to have a devastating impact on a lot of the programs we have here in the county. So I wanted to put that out there because it's significant. The media needs to be paying attention to that. And I know we're making phone calls to figure out how is this going to be rolled out by the federal government. Something else this was alluded to I wanted to talk about. I wrote a resolution for the National Association of Counties. I'm on the board of directors there dealing with urban and wildland interface. And the reason this is important is the fires that have been affecting Southern California, the fires that have been affecting us here in Fresno County, Madera, Mariposa counties, many times fire starts on state-owned lands, federal-owned lands, and even on private properties. But because we don't have adequate setbacks and proper forest management and wildland management, these fires burn right up to people's backyards and then end up burning their homes down. With the Creek Fire, it destroyed 860 structures. And for us, it was about $500 million of damage. I've seen some estimates with the damage in Southern California with those fires exceeding $100 billion. So a lot of this could be prevented, and we have many more areas that need to be protected. So I've introduced this ordinance. I'm confident that NACO will adopt this resolution at the policy conference, legislative conference we have coming up in March. So I will be there to fight for that for our communities. And really appreciate FINE and SAM because they've been working with me on a lot of letters that have been going out to the federal government, state government, and appreciate their hard work because sometimes all the work that they do behind the scenes is not talked about, and I just want to say thank you to them. So that's all I have.
Okay, Gary?
Yeah. I just wanted to thank Chief Tim Henry and his staff with North Central Fire for responding quickly to some constituent concerns we had in Old Fig. With the Code Department, Ellie Harrison for being responsive to our constituents' requests, and Rhonda Charles at DSS for reaching out to our constituents to help them resolve some issues. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to reiterate after the meeting today, Supervisor Maxig and I will be having a committee meeting for the building. We can report at our next meeting under committee reports, won't have any action until further, when we have more concrete results to report, but we can do that to bring the board up to speed as to what happens today. And Supervisor Chavez, again, appreciate you taking over First Five. I did donate 8 years of my life to that. I feel you will be a great fit for that. We'll find a very competent staff and are good people to work with, and look forward to the good work that you'll continue to do in that organization. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Only thing that I have is last week I got reelected to the CSAC Executive Committee. So I'll be serving on that, and we'll be going to the next series of meetings they're having starting Wednesday. Okay, with that.
We now
Madam
move
Clerk?
to item number 13, board appointments.
Okay, I'll start on this side. Do you have any?
No.
I have none, Mr.
Okay, do you have any? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have an appointment to make for our, speaking of First Five, our long-term board member, Hugo Morales. I'd like to appoint him to the First Five, reappoint him to the First Five Commission. So Clerk, if we could enter that into the record. Need to make a motion?
No, we'll do them all.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I've got a bunch, so sorry about this.
Yeah,
So
I got more than you, I think.
We'll see. So to the Fresno County Retirement Association, FSERA, I want to reappoint Steve Jolly and Rod Coburn to the at-large seat, which expired on 12/31/2024, and appoint Gregory Baxter to the at-large seat formerly held by Stanley McDivitt, which expired on 12/31/2024. To the Historical Landmarks and Records Advisory Commission, I want to reappoint Nick Iovino to the District 5 seat, which expired on 1/6/25. To the Citizens Review Panel, Library Sales Tax, reappoint Amy Kowalski to the District 5 seat, which expired on 1/6/25. To Housing and Community Development Citizen Advisory Committee, appoint Megan Russell to the vacant Squaw Valley Area District 5 seat. To the Fresno Arts Council, appoint Mr. Johannes Castellanos to the at-large seat currently held by Jeff Meacham, which expired on 6/30 of 2024. And that's all I have.
Okay. Okay, my first one is reappoint Bar Reggie McCoy to the Fresno Economic Opportunities Commission. On the Historical Landmarks and Records Advisory Commission, reappoint John Mendoza. Housing and Community Development Citizens Advisory Committee, reappoint Nick Sahota. For the Oak Grove Cemetery District, reappoint Lethal Gravance. For the Parlier Cemetery District, reappoint Lupe Barella to a new term. Sanger Delray Cemetery District, reappoint Renee Gonzalez. For the Salma Cemetery District, reappoint Ramaza Corey. And reappoint Jennifer Earl. The Reedley Cemetery District, reappoint Kenneth Dale. For the Zoo Authority, reappoint Ralph Waterhouse. And new appointment to the Parlier Cemetery District, appoint Michelle Lopez in a position previously held by Barbara Gonzalez. That's it. See, I told you I had more.
You had more?
Yeah.
win. I'll move for approval of those after the public speak.
I just want to make sure, did Supervisor Redfield, do you have an appointment?
No, I do not.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I heard that or not. Thank you.
Okay, got them. I'll second the motion. All in favor? Well, is there any public comment on these? Hearing none. All in favor, so I'm saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. The motion carries.
We now move to item number 14, public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the board on any matter not on this agenda.
That's not on the agenda.
Sue, I'd like to just make a comment. The 2015 is on closed session, so you'll be second today, just so you don't come under public presentation. I just want to
Yeah.
clarify that for you. All right.
Did you understand that?
Sure. So today, is that all right, buddy? if I do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Today, the 2015 is on closed session, so you won't comment under public presentation. You will wait till the clerk announces closed session items,
And
and
then
then
you
you will
will-
comment then.
then
That
that'll
way
be
there's no
closed session.
confusion. So this would be for anyone that was not on the agenda
Not
today.
on the agenda and
Yeah.
not on closed session.
Yeah. You're welcome, yeah.
Okay.
All
Be for Mary Helen, yeah.
May I begin? All right. Good
Okay, where are we on
afternoon.
now?
Good afternoon, Board
14,
of Supervisors. This is my third time being here. Each time has been pretty unique. This experience today, you discussed a few things regarding mental health and the cost of adding additional lawyers. And I am experiencing that myself with the system or situation that's going on, but we'll deal with that another time. Today, I would like to talk about
Yeah, 14.
mental health and how it affects our first responders. As a veteran and a supervising juvenile correction officer, I was a first responder in addition to an essential worker during COVID. First responders experience high rate of mental health issues compared to general population. We're at higher risk of PTSD, depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. First responders are 2 to 3 times more likely to die by suicide than general population. Firefighter and law enforcement officers have the highest risk of suicide. And with that being said, it is important for mental health support. Early intervention and treatment are critical for improving the mental health for first responders. Agencies should provide access to mental health services, training, and supporting programs. First responders should be encouraged to seek help and break down the stigma according to mental health. One of those issues that we face with the stigma is what I faced. And I believe that if we could remove the stigma, we would save the county money in legal fees. We would have saved me personal money and time and effort.
And it would be benefit to our community since our first responders are out on the floor or out responding to emergencies, or in corrections, we're behind a cement wall. Correctional officers are not only law enforcement. I was a mental health counselor. We could be wearing that hat. We can wear the medical services responding. We have a lot of responsibilities, including teaching and advising these youth that are behind the cement walls. But when it comes to a stigma with mental health, what I've experienced is so painful and so life-changing that I realized there's confusion with the idea of protecting the county with money being spent versus investing it in the treatment. Now, I heard treatment was very expensive. And I know that with peer counseling that I learned in the VA, because workers' comp didn't offer that, cognitive behavioral therapy helped me, workers' comp didn't offer that. In addition to bringing the attention of how mental health affects us as officers, could remove the stigma and prevent other officers from making false accusations and stating that they would be a threat to society or to other peers, which could create a lawsuit, which would save money. And then also, I know that as we go on through the world today, we're facing a lot more of incidents that occur. And now we're sending out law enforcement, probation officers were being sent out to other communities for emergencies.
Thank you.
I'll be back, and we look forward to discussing it in court another time. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
And I think we're still on item 14, and
Yes.
so, which, after is, so, Vice Chairman, I turn it over to you, to see if there's any more comment on things not on the agenda. Well, no, not yet, because that's on closed session items, so I think we're done with item.
She's got another one.
Oh, you've got another item that's not,
I'm a purple.
okay?
Come on, Mary Ellen.
My name is Mary Helen Lopez. I want to say thank you. You have all been very transparent this morning, like Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, very transparent. I like what was going on because you've gotten a discussion out here that the public can hear and how you feel about it. I like that. I like that a lot. Also, my question was rules of engagement. How do you want me to act up here that won't offend you or the people out here? Because all of a sudden somebody gets all tweaked out here and uncomfortable, okay? Because something of truth might come out. Because that's the only way somebody feels uncomfortable, if the truth comes out, like in transparency. So that is my question here. How do you want us to act? And then we can't say something out here as an audience to voice an opinion of yay or nay, because you're going to throw us out. That is my question. That is what I want answered. Send it to my mailing address.
Okay, hi. I would like to ask, why are you guys gonna spend a whole bunch of money for a new building for you guys when there's people out here on the streets and nobody's wanting to help? You guys don't even want to help. You guys leave it all up to the city. Also, why is Matt Dildine on national television lying to everybody saying that Fresno has warming centers open every single day, which is a lie because they're not open every day. They're only open when it's below 32 degrees. Why? Can anybody tell me? Nope, you guys are all just gonna stare around. It's ridiculous.
Hey, oops. My bad.
Break it?
Did you break it already, Des?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You know, because you're here, that's that karma. Hey, you guys, I just messed up like 5 seconds, so I'm going to go ahead and talk real fast. Crystal's right. You know, we have thousands of unhoused. They're doing the pick count right now, which is going to be false, so double it. Okay, because see, we have to lower the numbers in order to keep getting grants. So the pick count number will be lower, so go ahead and double it. Because we have over 2,000 people that are on the streets. I counted 500 people within one area, so there's no way we only have 1,260 people. If we put people into the Fresno County Jail for 1 year for merely not having a place to sleep, it's going to cost like, if it's only 1,200, it's $104 a day to have an inmate in there. You're looking at like $62 million a year just for the people that you claim are out there. We need the county to step up The city has done so much on shelters and other things. Our 60 days, I keep telling you, is BS. 60 days ain't gonna help nobody. You guys are literally taking people off the streets, putting them into mental health. They spend 60 days there and then they're back on the street again. So you guys are kicking people out of your shelters that you pay for and making them criminals, because it is against the law to be on the streets in Fresno, right? No sleep, stand, line, all that stuff that you guys do on public property. You guys are not immune to that when you're out there. So remember that, because I'm that advocate that will stand next to you and call the police because you're violating the ordinance of the city also when you're out there. But you guys don't get picked up. Your kids don't get picked up when you guys are at the park. I see it. And nobody does anything about it. The police are not called on you. We have several hundred people that are gonna be swept this morning. There's nowhere to go. You guys are giving 16 days at the motel, but it's only 16 days. 16 days and they're back out on the streets and you guys are spending money. I wanna know how much money you guys have been spending on these 16 days at the motel that's temporarily. We have over 30 children down at the POV every single day waiting for a bed. The county has no family shelters. We need family shelters. You guys need to give me a piece of land and let's go back to safe camps, because right now with the federal grants being gone, you guys have thousands and thousands of people that are sitting here on Section 8 all over the city and the county that might be kicked out because some owners are gonna be afraid to keep them. You know what I'm saying? So the count that you have today is not gonna be the same if we don't change, if that dude, orange guy, doesn't frickin' go back to giving us our funding. This is scary, you guys. It's really scary, and it's gonna get worse out here. Mental health matters, and let's think about that.
Good morning. My name is Ofelia Ochoa of the Mendota community. Happy New Year. This is the first time I come to your meetings in this year. I'm very happy to look at this group. Mr. Bredefield and Ms. Luis Chavez, Mr. Luis Chavez. I know they're going to do a very good job for the county. And I also thank Mr. Brian Pacheco and everybody for their job. And I understand that they're going to bring and build possibly a new building for the county. I would like to give you my opinion. I would like for you to, for this building to have more like parking for handicapped that come to the meetings, and children that need a wheelchair, and possibly if it's a one-story building would be best. I would like also to have more children-friendly and handicap-friendly areas. Today, we're starting the year with a Fabian's farm in the Mendota community. It's for everybody in the Central Valley. And I hope you can come and see it and support us in this great opportunity that we're giving to those people with incapacities or handicapped. With the city's support and with the regional centers, we're going to have therapy for the children with handicap, with qualified people. And maybe in this new budget, this year's budget, we could be Fabian's Farm, part of the sharing of the budget funds. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to closed session. Is there anyone that wants to speak on an item in closed session?
That's you, Sue.
And I will limit it to 15 minutes per subject.
Good morning. My name is Claudia Wells. I'm a long-term provider
I've been a provider for 42 years or more, and I'm here on behalf of the caregivers. Caregiving is a work. It's often involved not just physical labor, but also working knowledge of how to distribute medication and to keep the residents healthy as possible. Caregiving is not easy work. It is a labor of love, and you have to be dedicated and led with compassion. Caregiving is the kind of work that requires us to not just be present, but to be alert at all times. In this country, caregivers are demanding respect, to be protected, and paid, and it's time now to act. The time is now. Our call to the Board of Supervisors is very clear. It is time to get the job done. My last comment is, it is time for Fresno County to invest in our caregivers who provides care and remain the backbone of Fresno community. We need adequate health care, and in order for our work to be the best of our collective ability, we need adequate health care. The time is now. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Well, morning still. Supervisors, you all know me. I've been here many times. I'm Sue Hammond. I'm also a care provider. I am 70 years old, and I'm here not just on my behalf, but on the behalf of everybody standing in this audience, okay? We are asking to please give us our health care, and we're asking please to give us a minimum wage or a wage that is livable. Right now, I want to give you some statistics. Right now, there are over 55% of IHSS providers that can't even access medical. They can't access visiting a doctor, prescriptions, because they don't make enough money. And without health care, they're not going to be able to do that because a lot of them do not qualify for being on Medi-Cal, okay, because of the incomes that they make. Also, in the last 10 years, we have over 76% growth here in Fresno County alone. And it's getting more and more harder to find good care providers because of the minimum, or because we're making minimum wage, because of the healthcare situation. And we can't find enough good healthcare providers. And we're asking that you do fund our contract, that you do take a good look at what's going on around and what's happening. 1 out of 5 care providers are leaving. That's leaving a lot of people without care providers that need it. And we really want to ask that you do take care of us, because if you take care of us as care providers, it's going to make a better county, a better community here, because then we're healthy and we're able to take care of the people that are in need of a health care provider. And we are able to take care of ourselves. So I do ask and stress again, please do give us back our health care, make sure we do get our health care. Also make sure that we are getting a livable wage, because right now we are asking for $20 an hour, but we do need to have a decent wage. And I thank you all, and God bless you all.
Hi, I'm here for District 3. My name is Gloria. I've been taking care of my brother for 22 years. And I'm here today to stand up for Fresno IHS workers. We provide life-saving and support to our loved ones. The work we do is real work that requires us not just to be present, but to be alert at all times. We ask you guys, please, to give us what we deserve as IHSS workers. Thank you.
Hello, Board of Supervisors. My name is Sheila Walton, and I'm a caretaker provider. However, I just want to say that we take care of Fresno, elderly, disability, vets, and we're getting underpaid. We're under the umbrella of the California Health and Human Agency. We are part of the Department of Social Services. We should be able, and public health. We serve these people to take care of them. We struggle to take care of them because we're not even getting the adequate pay to take care of them ourselves. So we do a lot. We go to food banks, we take them to doctors, we make sure they take care of their medications, we travel all across town, we do everything. So we deserve pay increase. We deserve health care as any other person under public health, Department of Social Services. We deserve that. One day we might be taking care of you guys or one of your family members. You guys are a part of this. When you're not working anymore, you're not getting this big pay, you drop down in low pay, guess what? We might be the person that come to your door to take care of you or your parents or any other person that you might know. Please help us. Thank you.
Hey, I definitely want to support all IHSS workers. I'm experienced. A year and a half ago, I was hospitalized and I had to have somebody come to my house to help me, right? Because the hospital's like, we don't have enough room for you, but you still need nurse care. We're going to send you home and set you up with somebody. I'm going to tell you what, man. These 3 nurses that they sent to my house were freaking amazing. Like, they treated me like I was their child and they were my mother. They were very attentive. They were so kind. It was like, it made me cry because it was like, oh my God, you guys have this program here. And like, I never knew. I never knew what resources were out there. But they helped me. And I need them again because I have a spinal injury. And I've been needing surgery for a long time, so I finally got it approved. So this is what I'm going to have to come back to after I come back from San Francisco. I'm going to need an IHS worker in my home. I'm going to need some help. I have rescue dogs. I rescue people. I'm going to have to take time off. What am I going to do with my dogs? The city's not taking in any animals. I can't turn them over. I've had them so long that I'm addicted to them now. They're my family. But I won't be able to help without somebody coming to help me, Also, I work with several unhoused members out here that are IHSS workers, and it's sad. It's so sad. They don't make enough money to get into housing. They're getting the shelters, and they're there for 3 years. Because why? Because they don't make enough money for one program, or they make too much money for another program. So they're stuck in the system. I have so many IHS workers out there. So I'm here to speak up on the homeless, unhoused IHS workers that are out there in the field, sleeping in tents, getting up every single day just to go to somebody's home to take care of them all day or their child. So it's very important to raise. I think they should get $25 to $30 instead of $20 because, taxes are coming out. They need more help. And I didn't know you took away their insurance. That's kind of messed up. They're health workers taking care of people, and you take away their health insurance. Come on. I guarantee you guys, when you have surgery and you go home, somebody takes care of you. Not just your wife. Somebody takes care of you. We got the Genders out there that killed the unhoused, and they're utilizing the health benefits to take care of their son because he decided to jump out a 3-story window to get away from the sheriff's department. So if you're rich, you get home care. If you're poor, you don't. Low income needs this, and IHS workers need a lot more respect than what they're getting right now. So please give them a raise, $25 to $30. Give them back their health insurance. Because I'm pretty sure you don't want anybody standing outside your house protesting on a public street. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. First of all, I admire your guys' meekness, the humility you guys have up there. I just ask that you take into consideration our increase in us IHSS workers. This is our opportunity to speak, so I wanted to take that opportunity to speak to you guys, and just please consider an increase in our salaries, because we do work, we work hard and we work a lot, and we take care of the elderly. And that lady's right. Someday we might possibly be taking care of you guys or a family member. So we really appreciate your guys' consideration. Thank you. One more thing. Service to others is the rent you pay for a room in heaven. Okay? So, thank you, guys.
Is there anyone else who, you've already
My name is
spoken,
Mary
right?
Helen. I just want to say thank you, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? If not, we'll close the public portion on this item.
Buddy's back.
Okay.
We're done, buddy. Go to county council.
Okay, we're going to go into closed session. County Council, will we have anything to report out of closed session?
Mr. Chairman, we are not anticipating any announcements out of closed session, so if the board chooses, it may adjourn following closed session.
Okay, got a second?
Second.
All in favor is going to say an aye.
Aye.
Okay, with that, we're done.